Shukan, you wanted a character, a female half-elf rogue is the one that you have rolled up to go on an adventure as we bust open an entire brick of Storm King's Thunder. So let's pop open box number 1 and find out just where's this story taking us? Who are we going to meet? Now, I think it's a safe presumption to say you're going to meet some giants. And if you don't, I'd be baffled. Female half-elf rogue. Female half-elf rogue. Okay. So, I do have the visual spoiler over here of Storm King's Thunder. Although, I mean, we can... Actually, you know what? Oh, come here, paper towels. That plate is way too shiny. That'll help. That'll do. All right. So Shukan, the female half-elf rogue. Let's generate an adventure with the miniatures that I see here. All right, Shukan. I'm going to get some background music playing that will be appropriate for maybe some sneaky sneaks or something along those lines. And we'll get it going. Maybe kind of a town music. Here we go. This will work. All right. Hello, the Nordic Geek. Welcome. All right. I hope you're hearing this sort of docks district in the background. What, Shukan, what good thief, especially one with Fey heritage, would be caught without a partner in crime? And so, Shukan, we are going to introduce to you this sprite with a sword. And you two have been able to put on some pretty good shows. Well, not getting caught. Not like you're necessarily doing it publicly. But you and your sprite pal, you know, are able to pick locks, do some scouting, and really just be able to start making a name for yourself here in town. And a client of yours, well, not necessarily a client, like you do this professionally, you catch word that there is someone who is looking for a counter thief because there is someone breaking into her warehouse. Not warehouse, her shipwright. So I guess kind of warehouse, but for boat parts. Hey, Coffee Cat, welcome. Did I miss saying hi to you, Coffee, from way before? Well, still, howdy hi to you. So you get word of this, and you need to go meet your client. So you have your partner in crime, right? You have this sprite with a sword, and you show up to the shipwright, And she's here. We have a fire giant with a mace. She makes excellent ships. I mean, they're fit for giants. They're good for cargo and a lot of other things. They're built very sturdy as well. And she goes on to tell you that, yeah, by the way, some pixie for scales about the size of her face. She goes on to tell you that someone has been breaking into her shipyard and is stealing supplies. And so you have a job of being not just a good thief, but a good counter thief. You take the job, Shukan. You stake the place out. You set a couple traps. You and your sprite friend set up a watch. And in the dead of night, the moon is kind of hiding behind some clouds. And one of your alarms goes off. And you go to investigate, and you see that the alarm's just been cut through. Like the little tripwire or whatever. So it did go off, and someone clipped it. Aha, the thief must be here. And so now we have a game of cat and mouse, where, Shukan, you are trying to find this other thief on behalf of your giant client. And through some evidence, you find that the person who broke in can turn invisible. Leave some tracks through some dust or some flour you threw down, and is showing the signs of invisibility. However, before you have the chance, Shukan, to pounce and to spring your trap and say, "Aha, I got you," and ask questions, suddenly, thwomp, another blade slices through the invisible character, and the thief's head is removed by perhaps another thief or bounty hunter or someone much like you, but is a little bit more violent and assertive. You don't know if this other character has seen you, but there seems to be a rival, Shukan. And the rival leaves with the head of the invisible plunderer of the shipyard. And that's your box number 1. Box number 2. Yep, spam those emotes. Let's find out what I pull for Shukan. All right, so Shukan, your reputation grew from that. You report back. The client tells you that she doesn't know anything about someone else because she's only talked to you about it. But we'll have to see what's going on here. But it's time for something else. You are this half elf rogue who needs to continue your reputation. So once more, you and your sprite friend are going to set out on a caper or a heist. Hello, Lysaria. This time, some farming equipment has been stolen from one of the larger farms around the city. And, just because you're a rogue and you steal doesn't mean that you're doing things to be nefarious or evil. In fact, you could go and try and get this back. And if nothing else, maybe benefit, from a monetary reward. So you and your sprite, I'll keep the sprite out because we've already revealed your sprite friend. You and your sprite head out. And you encounter... this is difficult to show. You encounter the farmer. In this case, it's a tree farmer, a frost giantess, who keeps a variety of axes. And she tells you, Shukan, that just, it was a couple days ago, she noticed some of her smaller implements have gone missing. A lot of miscellaneous blades and things that aren't necessarily for her, but for other members of her crew to do some more expert like whittling and getting things down. And so you do some investigation and you think. All right, I'm an expert thief. I'm this rogue. And, the sprite says, well, a lot of times I have to disguise myself to make sure I get around and don't get a lot of attention. Aha! It strikes you, Shukan. Being the rogue that you are, it's time to put on a disguise and have a stakeout. And so, while you're on this farm, you put on a disguise of a scarecrow. And you go out into the fields, out by the tool shed, where these tools have gone missing. Time passes. It's another late night. And that's when you hear some activity. You start creeping over, holding still as you think it's necessary in your scarecrow disguise. Ooh, pardon me. And gone in a flash. You see the movement. You see a colorful blur, but that's it. And the chase is on. You're running through the fields of grains and these trees that are still young and growing. And after tracking the thief for a while, you find a den. But this one is strange. It's partially buried, partially built. And by built, it's not by brick and mortar, but just sort of by like an odd, like almost like a mud-like substance that's been placed on the walls. You creep inside very carefully into this strange area. And you see a variety of blades and other like farming equipment up against one of the walls. You have the information. Maybe you can bring back the important tool that your frost giantess client had told you about. And so you sneak in. And there's a chittering sound. You turn, and it looks like, even in your disguise, because that's not going to do you much good here, the culprit has caught you. And you have to fight your way out against some sort of bug creature, a weapon collector. In its own way, perhaps a locust that's plaguing the farm. but a very tall one. You fight, and this is a tough one. You take some big hits, but you eventually bring down the thief, and you return back to your client with at least part of the tools in hand. And she rewards you. And your reputation has grown once more, Shukan. Yes, that was a thrycreen with a spear. Alright, Shukan. The Master Thief continues. Alright, Shukan, this time you've caught wind that there is a treasure to be found in a cave. And being the rogue you are, how could one such as you turn down a good treasure hunt? And so you go off into the hills and try to find this cave that you got some information from off of an old map that came from an old friend that was bought with some, well, some not so old money. And you think back, the friend who sold you the map is wise, a monk. Someone who himself lives rather as an ascetic. Very wise. As he helps you to decode it, if only in your memories, by asking you questions and by causing you to stop and reflect. For a rogue possesses many qualities of a monk. You know, self-reliance, believing in oneself, doing the supernatural without being overtly supernatural. And there you are, you find the cave. You begin exploring, and suddenly a dark mantle drops on your head. Get it off. Oof. 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 There's some fun Minecraft for y'all. You manage to rip the thing off and toss it to the side, landing a killing blow on it. And as you go to check it, from deeper in the cave, you just hear, and then it's quiet. Uh-oh, something's going on, Shukan. But you're a rogue, you got this. Remember the words of your teacher, your master. Evil moves fast, but good moves faster than light. Shining from your illumination. Good versus evil equals confrontation. So when you're in trouble, don't give in and go sour. Try to rely on your turtle power. you find the corpse of a stone giant lying on the cave floor. Dead. D-E-D, dead. With some pretty vicious slashes. This must have been the thing that lived in the cave. Someone else must be after the treasure. But who? And then you see a familiar outline. You see a familiar outline of someone walking by. But wait! He was supposed to be dead. You saw him, like, at least you saw his form. You saw his head just come off his shoulders, and this other mysterious figure walked off with it. What's going on? Are these members of a thieves guild that are dressing the same, or some sort of like fighters guild or warriors guild of some kind? Not even a guild at all? And you can see that this person has a treasure. Or at least a very heavy satchel. After being roughed up by that dark mantle and being on your way here, it's probably best to observe and watch. Something's not right. And while you definitely want treasure, and maybe you even make a vow to go after it, there's just not here and not now. And so you lurk back. You know, you're a little injured. You're not horrible for your wounds. And you wait and you research until this next adventure happens. All right, box number 4, everyone. Go ahead and spam some good luck for Shukan, please. Shukan, the female half-elf rogue. Let's see. You and your friend are remember, you have your sprite friend, have been practicing your disguises. And so your sprite friend is trying on a disguise to look more like a bat. I mean, this is technically a homunculus miniature, but your sprite wants to look more like a bat. And so your sprite has a disguise of his own. You're summoned back to the dockyards as, you know, a little, well, in this case, maybe a messenger, a little birdie, lets you know that apparently things aren't all hunky-dory at the shipwright that you had left earlier. As you approach, you are hearing an argument. There's definitely a very booming, loud male voice. Sounds very upset. And then there's a woman's voice, but one more your-sized, Shukan. Perhaps, discretion being the better part of valor here. You valorously eavesdrop. After doing a little bit of climbing and a little bit of scooting around the roof, you get to a spot where you can see and hear the argument going on. And as you shift position, you hear the man's voice. My wife's plans keep going missing. And tools. At this rate, we're going to lose everything. I'm furious, says the male fire giant. Apparently husband to the female fire giant. And as you shift position, Shukan, you see that he's talking to a woman who's missing an arm and has this kind of like hook or anchor attached. She does look smart, right? Some electricity's kind of like bzzz going off. Carries herself kind of as an inventor, as a manager, as a scientist. Kind of a deal. Yes, I know. It's not like I want this to happen either. There's some sensitive equipment I was hoping that would go on that ship, and it has also gone missing. Well, what are we supposed to do? That first one that stopped by, he said the problem was taken care of, and that the head had been removed from the thief by someone else. But we didn't have anyone come forward. Uh-oh. It seems follow-up is a good thing to start having, Shukan. So you saw something, but you didn't... Did you? Did you see it? You've now seen the same man twice, but one who apparently was magical and then was beheaded by a figure that just sort of like emerged from the shadows or snuck up. A rival thief, you thought. But something else could be afoot. Shukan, from your vantage point, that's when you notice. By the way, this is the Helena Nostrum. If it'll want to focus. Helena Nostrum. Your sprite friend in disguise flaps back. Shukan! While they're arguing, quick! They're taking stuff! And sure enough, you tip across the roof. And you see loading into a wagon before hauling off is another bug. Of course. Where you see one bug, you just know there's got to be more. Who are these people? And why do they keep hoarding tools and metal implements? Something's going on. And you need to retire to think about what's happening. You have some information. Your original quest giver, well, upon this revisit, has given you some extra info, if only because of a lack of info. And you might be able to saunter up and give them an address, especially, or not like an address per se, but you might be able to give them a description and get a job. Because it looks like they're missing tools, but at least this inventor seems very wealthy. Sorry, I'm leaning back in my chair to give my back a little break. Oh, feels good, though. Doing a little stretch. All right, everyone. Box 5. What do we got? Spam your emotes, please. All right, Shukan. Some time passes. You're thinking about what's happening. What's going on here? Why is the shipwrights being plundered? And there's a knock at your door. When you open, in walks your mentor. Shukan. I have another mystery for you. I am in possession of some knowledge about another cave, similar to the one from before, but this is supposedly also filled with treasure. I have been wondering what had happened after losing one of my giant friends who live in the hills. And I would like to see how my student has come along in his training as we explore another cave. Yep, that makes sense, Shukan. Way of Shadow monks are shadow dancers or ninjas in their own way. And so you go to the hills. Once more, you enter a cave, and once more you find a brand new hat as it starts chewing on you. Ah! And you throw it to the ground. You're not going to be a part of its system. Your mentor simply looks over at you and gives a little smirk. You say that happened before also. Then perhaps you will learn a lesson, Shukan. I'd like to think I have taught you better. However, that hat did look really good on you for the time that you wore it. And you realize that this monk has probably spent a good amount of time alone, laughing out loud at his own joke that was not necessarily a joke. But hey, that's why you have these interesting dynamics. As you're in the cave laughing this off, this encounter with your mentor, you hear, "I cannot let you pass. You know too much." And you and your mentor turn around and find now not just a bug person, but a snake person who seems armed and is covered in blood. Snake people? Bug people? What's going on? And without too much more interaction, this snake person just lunges forward, well, much like a snake striking. And it takes the two of you, almost everything you have, to defeat this character. It falls, and you see that its weapons and armor are ancient. A curved blade, and an old beaten shield. These must be some of the treasures that were in the cave. Then deeper, wait, what if, and sure enough, another cave, another stone giant dead. And you have now the curved blade that made some of these marks. Your monk teacher kneels at the side of the giant and wipes away a tear. "Not another one. This is my fault. I thought that sending you to them would be good training for you, Shukan. If things got too hot, they knew what was happening. They would let you know after you have fought fiercely. But someone else knows about the treasures that they've been guarding all this time. That one's not an abomination. That one is a Yuan-Ti Malazan. Old treasures in the hills. People that are being turned into snakes and insects? Something's happening. Where's this going to go? It looked as if a lot of the treasure had been taken, save for the pieces you recovered from the fallen snake person. And your mentor says that he will go and warn the others to try and prevent more deaths. Take these items. If you can use them, use them. Or try and obtain clues. Talk to the historians in town. Even let the fire giants of the port or the frost giants in the woods know what's happening, as if they're also guarding treasures, as giants are known to do. They could be next. And so, the mystery deepens, Shukan. As a rogue, you thought that this would just be kind of fun in games, a little lighthearted, this and that, and you find yourself being drawn in to some kind of conspiracy. Something that is just deeper and deeper. What are these ancient treasures that are being hidden? And also, if some of the ancient treasures were a sword and a shield for non-giants, why would a giant do that? Odd. All right. Shukan, it's time to step up. You've proven yourself. You have the skills. You have the mentality. And perhaps it's time, if only for some more information, you join the Thieves Guild. And so you do. You go through the initiation ritual, Shukan, and you are made a fully blooded member of the Thieves Guild. Congratulations. Clap, clap, clap. You do a little work. You prove yourself rather quickly. And you end up making 2 friends in the guild. One is a rather notorious Kenku. You know that you've seen him around town, but you never would have suspected that he was in the Thieves Guild. And so you're sitting at the table with the Kenku, and there's a human, well, this is a bandit, but there's another human. Probably works as a bouncer or a muscle or some other form of enforcer. Maybe even down at the docks as a longshoreman who gets information while he's hauling cargo. You have a council, Shukan, right? You have these friends, and you're swapping info for info. Abiding cautiously by the code of thieves, as you are now fully initiated here into it. And you learn something interesting. There is another character that has been seen with some very odd armaments and armor. And now that you think, coming from the docks, you ask a little bit more, and you learn that it's coming from the fire giant's warehouse, that shipbuilding like warehouse. And the Kenku is able to squawk back some of the conversation, and you recognize the female voice from the Kenku, but you don't recognize the human voice. And the human here says, "Oh yeah, he's been moving a lot of cargo lately. I've been keeping my eye on him. Both of them, as I'm blessed to still have the two." Yeah, from what I understand, what he's been taking, it's a carts at a time. Stuff that I haven't really ever seen before from the little peeks I was able to get in without arousing too much suspicion. And so, Shukan, this could be getting you somewhere. Where's this story going? Where are these things ending up? Who are the players? And so, after a little bit more time of info gathering and staking out Shukan, you see a very interesting man who is also dressed in strange armor and armaments, much like Helena Nostrum was. This is Lai Antolio. And so you follow Lai Antolio very carefully through the streets. Once more it's night, because of course it would be. Tip, 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 all the way out. You stop as it looks like by a roadside ditch. This character with the wagon, he has the strength to manage a wagon, stops. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. Boom. 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 The ground rattles. And a hill giant with a large, empty backpack rolls up and talks none too, even in a whisper, it's still pretty loud. And it seems like this Lai Antolio fellow is selling the entire cart's worth of content to the hill giant, who fills his backpack with it. Even the cart itself. Boom. 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 And starts walking away. How the mystery deepens, Shukan. Well, now, you are a blooded member of the Thieves Guild. You know something's happening. It's involving the giants, and it's involving these people who have weird, kind of rare things that they're wearing. Could they somehow be getting the giants' treasure? At least that the stone giants were guarding. Is the hill giant simply a fence? Or is the final purchaser and could be a mastermind? No, that's a hill giant. You stop yourself. I mean, not that a hill giant can't be a mastermind, but... Interesting. Box number 7. Here we go. You've done some follow-up back in the Dock District. You have some information. Let's, you didn't follow up before. You learn your lesson and go once more. And you visit the Frost Giantess out in the farmlands. Out in the tree farm and the grain farms. On the outskirts of this like, dockside city. She has her sword out now, not just an axe. She has her sword out because there's been an attack. You try to go and, you know, be all smooth and talk business, Shukan, but she stops you, telling you there could be more. Hang on. More what? And you hear, ooh, ooh, ooh. Although it sounds a little bit more distorted and just sort of unnerving. And a pack of hellhounds, I mean, we could just say that they're modified doggos here, runs out, and you and the giantess finish him off. One escapes, and you follow. The Frost Giantess will stay behind to make sure that nothing else has gone wrong. It's a good thing you got here just in the nick of time. Oh, hey, Katie Sue is raiding with a party of 7. Pardon me. Thanks, Katie Sue. Heckin' puppers, that's right, Coffee Cat. Welcome, welcome. And as it runs back, you see that it stops a ways away, tucked in the woods, by another snake person. You don't want this one to die or get away. You stay quiet. Just as the hound returns to the master, so too will the snake return to its master. If it has one. If it'll focus. There we go. And sure enough, Shukan, you stalk. You use all, you know, with the remaining vigilant dogs and whatever enhanced senses these snake people might have. This is testing all your skills. Like, you're having to, you're having to, like, catch your sweat drops just in case. It's a Yuan-Ti pureblood, bubonic one. And there, glimmering in the moonlight, is a familiar figure. A short man in odd armor and a weapon that really... It should have caught your attention before, but now that you're looking at it, the whole time, just something's been off. The armor, is this more stuff that's been smuggled? Is this somehow, like, have you come across this tomb raiding operation? How does this involve the giants? And who is the mastermind that you've seen 3 times now? These questions and more on the final episode of Shukan's female half-elf rogue adventure. Let's see what you get here. Shukan, this is a challenge. Pulling blindly and trying to create a suspense in thief story. You are testing my resources. And I'm appreciative of it. I hope it's entertaining so far. Because I don't know how it's going to end. None of us do until, well, we open the box. All right, Shukan. Let me scratch my brain a second here as we come to the epic conclusion of this rogue's tale of murder and mystery. Let's see. Let's see. Om. Om. All right. See if we can ride this one home, Shukan. The bricks are always counts of 8. And so cases, I mean, I might be able to order cases at a time, yes. That really just depends on what the distributor has available. Because sometimes I can only get in 1 brick. All right, Shukan, let's test this out. Can I make a cohesive story out of 8 blind pull boxes? And of course, your randomly generated character in chat. Your sprite friend, continuing to work on various disguises, comes back in one that's a little bit more creepy. Shukan! Shukan! It's the fence! It's back! Aha! You knew it. If it happened once, it would happen again. Unfortunately, that probably means there's more plundered caves in the hills, and hopefully your master is all right, if not his giant friends. But there's no time to think of your master right now. You have to follow your disguised sprite's very wobbly attempt at being a dog. Apparently, I already have Harshnag. Was that on one of your lists, Shukan? I don't remember offhand. And sure enough... Oh, alright, there you go. Sure enough, there's another hill giant. With a full backpack. Making clinks and clanks as it hums to itself. Noisy walker making noise. This is easy, especially by now for you, Shukan. You follow the fence. Who meets a woman, a snake woman, and you overhear their this one has a sword, the other one had a bow. By the way, if you're painting minis, look, how many colors is this? Black hair, purple dress, yellow skin, kind of a uniform metal, and 2 little spots of green. Boom, forget about it. 10-15 minutes. Coffee Cat has a Countess Sansuri. Yes, you've done well. All the artifacts now should be ours. You will be compensated for your role in this plot.
Okay, if you're paying money or food, then I'm good for it.
Please stop laughing. It makes me motion sick. And so you're listening to this exchange between the fence and another reptilian person, and you're picking up some clues. Seems that the giants have been guarding these cursed items that have been bestowing powers on people. But over the course of it, you don't... No, you you don't pick up anything more than it seems to be a serpentine curse. As they have this back and forth, you're hiding and listening. But the conversation ends after getting just a few juicy facts. And the fence goes trundling off with an appropriate payment, laughing and swaying all the way. It's now time to super put on your sneaky boots, Shukan, as you follow the snake into the snake's den. A bit of I guess, poetic license since you come from a den of thieves. All the clues are coming together except... What about the bugs? What about the bug people? What is going on? It's taking everything you have to avoid these transformed people. And you can see evidence of more ancient things. Not just weapons and armor they're carrying, but just items. It's like an old lifestyle, like just you've stumbled into some anachronistic cave full of wonder. And death, if you're ever caught. So there's your disguised sprite. There's that. You follow her until you meet someone she reveres as the boss, even of her. Also wielding ancient armor and weapons. You've done well to secure the treasures. The hoops we had to jump through to get all of this. From those smugglers on the docks. From the... This is, technically, this is another Yuan-Ti Malazan. There's 3 types of Malazans. You have snake legs, snake head, and snake arms. The magics bestowed on these items have made us stronger, granted us physical powers, magical powers, especially those of illusion, which we need to continue operating in the city. The giants are foolish enough to believe. Well, you more than me. I'd require more illusion magic or to turn invisible as I have been. As he has been. And he laughs, and through some magic, he turns into a rather familiar looking, but shorter, right? The tail kind of disappears. By the way, this has a lovely texture on it. If it'll focus. And he turns into the armored figure that you saw. And he's talking about illusion magic and invisibility. The whole time he's been trying to mastermind this. But if not for those meddling bugs trying to stop us, our ancient rivals. But they're gone now. And all thanks to the Thieves Guild of all places. Uh-oh, Shukan. The bug folk were a red herring. This whole time, there was this mastermind who must have gone into the caves, started recovering these lost artifacts guarded by giants, and have otherwise been trying to scrape them together. The bug people have, I guess, been countering them, even raiding, because they're not locals, but even trying to get weapons and supplies of mundane means to fight, though they can't really communicate the same way. Ancient rivals to the snakes, but they're gone. And 2 of them were dispatched by your blade, Shukan. Do you know what this means you have to do? You have to take responsibility, Shukan. This is your moment. Cut the head off the snake. Bring down the organization, and all the treasure will be yours. You wait. You lick your lips. Every iota of your training has been for this time. The lady parts. The boss turns and goes to his chambers. And you follow. Oh, so quietly. All right, Shukan. Let's see how this plays out. You are going to tell you what. Roll 1d20, Shukan. Let's see how well you stealth. Silently, even more silently than a snake, your half-elf body, like, wrapped in leathers that are oiled so they don't creak. All of your metal belongings are secured by cloth. You whisper through the caverns and sneak inside the boss's room. Perhaps with one strike you can bring him down. A powerful strike. Shukan, roll an attack at advantage. Exclamation point 2d20. $19 again. Shukan, you strike with your twin daggers like snake's fangs, ironically. Shuk, shuk, shuk. You go for the neck so that the breathing and the voice is garbled. You sever the vocal cords. The thing swings with its sword, but you're able to nimbly dodge out of the way. A confrontation ensues. The first strike has been made, but now, in a heads-up battle, this is tough. We have more of a fightery type versus a rogue. But, Shukan, your sprite friend, who's been clinging on to you this whole time, jumps off of your back and onto the back of the boss, giving you an ally. You can now sneak attack as it's on its back and it's turning and twisting. Ah, get off me! Get off! Shukan, make another attack at advantage. Bring down the boss, as you're going to get sneak attack on this if you hit. 9 and 11. Ah! It misses. Shukan, as it's flailing, you go to lunge, and he twists out of the way. Unfortunately, your sprite friend is dashed on the floor, and as far as you know, isn't moving, though there's no time to check if he's dead or not. Though he is leaking. Sprites aren't supposed to do that. He turns to you. No more distractions. It was you, wasn't it, who followed my agents? I knew there was someone in the Thieves Guild. Well, it's time to meet your end here in my den, thief. He lunges. Once more, you're able to dodge out of the way, but you're very quickly. By that I mean in narrative time, you're out of your roguish, dodgy sort of abilities. It's close combat now. You're swirling each other. Shukan, you strike. You attacked normally, Another 11. Oh! He parries the blow and strikes at you. And this time it draws blood, Shukan. He's injured you pretty badly. You don't know how much longer this can go on, but one of you is going to fall here. One of you has to. Suddenly, visions of your mentor, of all the dead giants, visions of your friends in the thieves' den, you know, from the drinking and the gambling, the smiling, sharing information. Strike, Shukan. This is your last moment. You have advantage as memories of all these people flood. Well, you get 2d20. You have advantage. 10 and 6. Shukan, no. Once more you strike. And it's not enough. You're fallen and dying, Shukan. And the boss slithers over you. You show a lot of potential. I will grant you either a swift death or perhaps with your skills you could join me. Yes. What is your choice? Death or service? You roll deception? Sure. Yes, I see that your heart is really into joining us, isn't it? Then allow me the opportunity to... And you're like, yeah, I did it. Expose it. And he lunges forward, Shukan. The sword. Going right for your heart. No! Your friend gets in the way of the sword, is thoroughly impaled. This is a sprite. It's cut in half. Your friend falters, looks at you as you're laying on the ground. I'm sorry, Shukan. What? Shukan. There are no more tricks. This is the last moment to do something. You're on the ground. You're bleeding. The deception has been made. You can make one more attack at advantage to land the killing blow on the boss. Otherwise, it's all over. 18! There you go. From the ground, you kip up. You use the momentum of your body, and you just spring forward. And you expose the heart of the snake. Before whipping around and removing the head of the snake. And Shukan, here, your story ends. You've defeated this cursed thieves' den, using these things to empower people to change them. You've discovered this ancient rivalry. You've had guilt at a misunderstanding of people you thought were thieves, just trying to help, but they can't communicate the same as you because they're bugs. You've seen the death of giants, the anger of giants. You've seen the gentleness of friendship and felt the bitter sting of sacrifice. You return, the others having fled with their master being defeated. You're lauded as a hero among thieves, a great combatant, a master spelunker. Powerful, influential. And yet you can think back to your friend, the lowly sprite who helped you all, with a smile on those sunny days, the sun playing through its translucent wings. But life goes on, Shukan. Even if you've lost people along the way, you'll have to live for them. The end. What'd you think, Shukan? I hope you liked your minis, and I hope you liked the story that went with them. That was all 8 boxes. Well, oh sheeps, maybe someone else wants to step up and sponsor a box. I'll pop them open. I do have Dungeon of the Mod Mog. They have to now that I've spammed. It's law. It's the law. Shukan, you've done a lot, and I sincerely appreciate it. I don't want you to overextend or anything. I will always have more, and I'm very, very grateful for the case. Well, not the case, but for the brick of them that you bought that led to this story tonight. So, I'm glad you liked the story, Shukan. Definitely, this was an exercise in creative storytelling and improvisation. Okay, I won't ship them off. Just, if you want to split them into things to keep or trade or whatever, let me know. Yeah, exactly. Trade potential. Yep. Man, Shukan, I tell you, there's a couple times where I'm looking at these figures and I'm just thinking, what am I gonna do? You had me on the ropes a couple times there. Good morning from Hungary. Yes, Ostomer. Hey, it's good to see you again. It's been a little while. Thank you very much for that, as those bits are gonna help get me out to California for TwitchCon. And what we've explored with this story now is it's some good classic storytelling. We start off with a scrappy young adventurer just starting out. You're doing the easy stuff. You get your first job and you're like, yeah, I'm the big badass around here. People are gonna recognize me, and then your DM will throw you off the trail because oh yeah, dude looks like he was using magic. Yeah, and then he was beheaded. But it was an illusion, but you didn't know that at the time until later. And now that you're putting the clues together, the bug people. Wait, there's people being transformed? Well, as it turns out, there was 2 ancient races. One was were transformed people coming back. The other were these bug people. Maybe they were sealed away as well. Oh, thank you, Lysaria. Which boxes can have an aboleth? There's not an aboleth mini in Icons of the Realms yet, as far as I know, Shukan. The closest you can get is the Kraken, which I have. I have a Kraken at the store. I think it's $100, and you get this this gargantuan. So it's on a 4-inch base. It's the Kraken, tentacles, a rowboat, a treasure chest, a little like pile of treasure, and then a sandbar. So this is the set. Oh, I'm looking at it. What, you can't see what I see? There we go. So the Kraken comes with these tentacles, this big body on a gargantuan base, and accessories.